everyone. Welcome to this week's Karma Cards. We're in between moons right now. We've got the full moon that just happened last week and a new moon coming up on November 1st. So astrologically, not a lot happening except moving into Scorpio season. And then we had an X-class flare this week, kind of a big one, in X 3.3. And the Schumann's doing a little bit of white sparkly stuff, so there's some resonance going through. But other than that, it's kind of a quieter week, although it's got its own energy. So either you're having a week that's going well or a week that feels bumpy, just like things aren't kind of clicking along the way you'd like them to. And it seems to be a theme that I'm seeing for this week is just like, it's not the worst, it's not the best, it's kind of in the middle there. I hope you're having a better week than that. So this week, the message from the team, it's really about dealing with our own patterns of behavior and seeing what they are. So this bumpy, maybe disconnected energy has to do with getting us to see our own patterns and dealing with them and moving into integrity and alignment with who we truly are, like who we know ourselves to be at a deeper level, not the level that our ego sits at, not the level of our identity, but who we are at a deeper level. And so we're being given an opportunity to address some bad patterns. And I use bad in quotes, but patterns that aren't helpful to you and don't feel in alignment to who you truly are. An example of this might be if something doesn't go your way this week or hasn't been going your way, it is a pattern that comes up that you catastrophize. You turn it into the worst case scenario, that it is the absolute worst version of events that could happen to you, even though that's not how it's showing. It's just like, we have a trigger moment, right? This upsetting thing happens, like misplacing an important item or not getting the news you want or not hearing back from somebody on something when you need information, these kinds of things. And how do we react to it? So we're being asked to look at our reactions and tune into how we like to respond, because the reactions are coming from that egoic place, and the ego is where these patterns are being held. So it's getting us to see, when you get triggered by something, how are you reacting to it? Is it catastrophizing? Is it all or nothing thinking? Are you beating yourself up? I know someone who had an experience where a mistake happened. They misplaced something by mistake, and their reaction to it was to really be hard on themselves and beat themselves up about it, even though it was a mistake. It was something that they didn't want to have happened, but they really were coming down hard on themselves. So again, it's an opportunity. These triggers, they're opportunities for us to see what the ego is doing and clean that part up, because the outside event, the inciting event, you can't control that. And the outcome, a lot of people are trying to control that, and that's what the ego is doing. The ego wants to control the outcome. It doesn't want to go with the flow or go along with it. It really wants to control the outcome. So I see that as a pattern coming up with people right now, myself included. It's like, where are we trying to control an outcome? We're being asked to look at it, clean it up, and instead move into alignment with our sense of integrity. So again, the integrity is, for example, let's say, I'll make a fictional example. Let's say you're a person who is all about compassion with other people, right? You want to be seen as a compassionate person. Your heart feels open and compassionate and love and asking other people to love themselves. But then the minute you get triggered by something you do, you come down on yourself like a ton of bricks, right? You get really hard and rigid. You're unforgiving to yourself, and this is because you're so disappointed and how you mishandled something. Well, then you're actually not in integrity with what you say you value. You say you value compassion and understanding, but the minute that you perceive you've done something wrong, in this fictitious scenario, you're hard on yourself. So there is a misalignment there. Why am I giving everything else to other people, but I refuse to give it to myself? And so there's this cleanup that needs to be done in that scenario, right? We need to realize, this trigger is actually not so much about the thing that happened, but the opportunity for me to get actually into alignment with myself. This is the moment where it would really count, because this is the moment where I don't want to be compassionate to myself. And yet, one of my core tenets, one of my values, one of the things I believe in is that compassion. So here's my opportunity to really show up and give it to myself in this place where I'm triggered and don't want to. And if I can go through that moment and recognize that and choose consciously to feel compassion towards myself, then I have moved back into full integrity with that which I am at a deeper level. I hope that all made sense. So really, kind of the message for today is just understanding that the things that are triggering you, those outside inciting events that your ego is focusing on and really trying to control or attaching a lot of emphasis to, is also an opportunity for you to see, how am I treating others in this situation? How am I treating myself in this situation? Is that in alignment with who I claim to be? And can I be in alignment with who I claim to be in this very difficult moment that my ego is triggered and wants me to behave one way? Can I actually override that? Can I actually overcome that and show up as the person I intend to be? Can I stand in my integrity there? So I know it doesn't sound that fun, but it might be like, great, thanks a lot. I'm like, this is not what I want to hear. I've been hearing that a lot lately too, with all the stuff that we're being asked to clean up. It's like, I think that sometimes when we're thinking about moving higher in frequency and doing this work, we kind of just pre-decide maybe that it's going to be easy or it's going to feel good, and that's not necessarily the most efficient way to get the work done. Sometimes the challenge is actually what causes us to grow more. And looking back, of course we can see that. It's just when we have to go through it, it's not the thing we want to hear. Our ego really does want to fight back. But again, I'm going to keep stating this because I loved the metaphor that my team gave me, and it's helping me be gentler with my ego even as it tries to interrupt my life. And that is to see it like a 2-year-old in a car seat. And my team's like, don't let the 2-year-old drive the car, right? Like put your ego back in its car seat. Notice it didn't say throw the baby out the window. It said put the baby back in the car seat. Be, nurture, take care of it, understand it's a part of you. You're not going to get rid of it. But in order to integrate it, you have to see it as something that needs love and attention and needs to be monitored, because it can't be left alone. Because when it's left alone, chaos can ensue. That's been helping me deal with these moments. And there are definitely challenges that are happening in my own life as well, where I'm like, why are you doing this? Like, why do I have to keep experiencing this streak that feels like, I don't know, my ego wants to liken it to something like bad luck. Like somehow there's a streak of bad luck. And when I actually step out of my ego and look at the bigger picture, I see that it's not bad luck at all. It's time. It's time to get it. Remember, the higher we're going in frequency, your ego can't go with you. So even though we can't get rid of the ego, we are meant to integrate it, and to integrate it in that way in which it recedes within us, right? So it's not driving, it's not the driving force, it's receding, it's in the back seat. But we're meant to see where it's trying to drive. We're meant to get that now. And so all of this stuff that feels heavy, that people are talking to me about, that in my own experience where it feels heavy, it's easy for us to turn that into some kind of victim story, like I said, like a streak of bad luck, or like the world is against you, right? And it really isn't the case. The case is, this is the time to clean up. Like, you get a certain amount of time to get your homework done before it has to get turned in. we're at that window, right? Because doing it when the flash happens is too late. Doing it when we're trying to ascend is too late. You want to do it now. You want to be ready, right? You wouldn't wait to finish your exams on graduation day. Then how would you know you could graduate, right? The exam would not be received or reviewed. Do we have to do those first? Then we graduate. So if you think about it like that we're just doing the work here to address the ego, to address where the lower parts of the mind are getting in the way and trying to show you the pattern that's here. It allows you to address it, make the choice that might feel hard in the moment, which is, again, to do the thing that's the higher impulse, not the reaction. But these are the opportunities to do it. And as we do, we will feel more like ourselves all the time. And that will no longer be presented to us. That particular opportunity won't be presented to us because we will have learned, okay, I can overcome this sense of being hard on myself and choose compassion in this very hard moment where typically I would have blamed myself. This time I'm going to say that I know I didn't want to make that mistake. And that even though I'm disappointed, I'm going to recognize that it's not the end of the world, that everything's still okay, that whatever I was attached to there, I have now seen that I can detach from it, I can learn from it and move forward, and things will get better after this moment. These are the opportunities we have right now. So if you're being presented with one, I hope that this message helps you to see that it's not a punishment to you. You didn't do anything wrong. Nothing's working against you. This is the exam, and this is your opportunity to check your own growth here and move back into integrity with that which you know you truly are at a deeper level. And with that, let's look at this week's karma cards. All right, if you're new to karma cards, let me quickly show you how these work. I have 3 decks of cards here: planets, signs of the zodiac, and the houses of astrology. And I've already asked my team what is the message for this week, and I've got 2 sets of answers, a set in red, which are action related, and a set in blue, which are outcome related. And the way that you play is you tune in with that beautiful intuition of yours and feel what is the guidance you need this week. Are you looking for action related guidance, or do you want to see how things resolve over the next 7 days? And of course, you can always choose both. And while you're choosing, let me tell you the timing for this reading. This reading is for October 25th through the 30th. And the flavor of this reading, we've got Pluto, which is the ruler of Scorpio. And Pluto is the power purge planet. So if it doesn't empower you, it's got to go, which makes sense with everything else I got in this message. So far, we're on a roll. And the sign of Leo. So this is about our sovereignty, standing in our power, taking leadership over what we're doing and using our creativity to do it. And then Scorpio's back again in the 8th house. This is the life, death, and taxes, the mysteries of life. So this is the house that Scorpio rules. And like I said, we've just entered Scorpio season. I almost said seasoning. We just entered Scorpio season. So this deep dig on the truth and sort of being faced with what is true and what is false makes a lot of sense here. All right, for those who are choosing action, your spiritual action at this time is to resurrect leadership as a life or death issue. Yeah, this is talking about that moment where we overcome ourselves by recognizing our reaction and sort of internally correcting. So our sovereignty comes from that higher sense of self. And they're saying this is a life or death issue. It's exam time. That's really what I'm getting here. So they often associate ascension, that moving up into the next sphere of density, as a graduation point. So if that's our graduation point, we're in our exams, and we have had exams all along. If you think about it, it's not like this is the only time. This is another time. And again, ego work. You can't take, the ego cannot be driving the car. It has to be in the back seat, which means something else is driving, which is the higher self. So this is the period of time where that's going to come into focus. And again, our exams aren't something that's just written and mailed to us. Obviously, our exam is through experience. That's where we're going to learn. That's where we're going to have an opportunity. It would be just like a driving test, right? In the driving test, you're going to show what you know. Well, we're in the experience portion of show what you know. Did you get it? So again, if your goal is to stay in your power and not go into victimhood, you will get events sent your way that will trigger that sense of victimhood so that you have the opportunity to actually stand in your power, because that's the moment it counts the most. When you want to retreat to victimhood, but you choose to stay in your power, you have just completed or aced, I would say, that exam. So it's those kind of moments that are going to come up for us, not as a punishment. And that is something my ego would often associate with, right? Like, oh, this is a punishment, I'm being punished, or this is bad luck, or something, I've done something that has incurred this. And my team keeps coming back with no. Not to say that I haven't, everybody's got karma. Sure, everybody's got stuff to clean up. This isn't really connected to karma in that way. The way it's connected karmically, if you want to look at it, is in the fact that there's a pattern that's going on that's out of alignment with who you really are. That reactive pattern, that's harsh pattern, right? That pattern that goes into victimhood, that's the thing that's karmically entangled. And that's what you're here to overcome in this exam moment. Mental action at this time, get to the heart of the creativeness of getting and using power. Well, you're going to do that if you're open to this moment. And my goal, again, is to share this message with you so you can have your eyes open, so that I can have my eyes open, so we can look at this thing clearly rather than being duped by an emotional story we're telling ourselves. The clear truth here is that this is your creative opportunity to stand in your power, to shift the situation to what is in integrity with you at the soul level. So just see that as this moment, no matter what's presented to you, if it's triggering you, it's an opportunity to get in alignment with who you are at a soul level. The question I want to give you is, who am I at a soul level? Am I a victim or am I powerful? Am I compassionate or am I harsh? There's more examples there, but you know what I mean. Get to the heart of it and stand in your power. All right, physical action at this time, do or die. You must do what you want to and use other people's resources. Pluto's always a bit dramatic. Scorpio is always a bit dramatic. So, of course, whenever they say do or die, I'm just like, okay, you don't have a choice is basically what Pluto means. This is not a negotiation. This is an examination. You agreed to be in this exam by virtue of being in this Earth school. For some people who aren't awake to that yet, it takes them some time. The group I'm speaking to, you're awake to that concept. So you got to do it. Do it any way you want to, and even use other people's resources. I'm hoping, again, my intention here is that this message, whether it's happy to you or not, is a resource. Like you can go, oh yeah, right, I remember hearing about this. I remember hearing that every time I'm triggered, this is an opportunity right now for me to overcome the ego and step into my integrity. That's a resource. There's other resources out there. There's people who can show you literally how to do it step by step. You've got them. There's books, right? There's videos, there's coaches, there's resources for you. And it doesn't matter how you want to tackle it or what study aid you'd like to use, only that this is the time to do it, that you will be given your triggery thing so that you can address it. And you might be given lots of triggery things. And again, watch how the ego interprets that. The ego, like my ego is like, oh, it's a streak of bad luck, or right, like, oh, I did something karmically, or the world's against me. That's an ego interpretation. At the highest level, this is all for you, not to you. It's for you. It's not being done to you. It's being done for you so that you can overcome and realign and move up higher. And that's what we need to do. So it doesn't matter how much we read about higher frequencies or talk about wanting it, the proof is in the pudding. Can you do the work when the work is presented to you? That's going to be the litmus for us to know if we're ready to move forward. Can you do the work when it's presented to you? Can you move out of victimhood when you're put in a situation that makes you feel victimized? Can you move out of frustration and anger when you're in a situation that triggers that? Can you have love, compassion, and kindness towards yourself when you make the same mistakes over and over again? Can you do it? Those are the things that are going to show you're ready. Not I listened to this person, or I read that book, or I believe in this thing, but the actual ability to do it. That's what's going to count for us. So we really do want these moments. We want these moments. They're not the fun moments, and they're not moments that really feel great to go through, but when you overcome your own ego, when you overcome your own self-limiting belief system or your negative habits or patterns that keep you trapped in the same response, when you overcome that, it is an amazing feeling, and you'll know it. You'll know it in your gut that you've moved forward. Right, so now we're going to look at outcomes for Pluto in Leo in the 8th house of life, death, taxes, and mystery. All right, the spiritual outcome at this time is the need for control of self-confidence to create personal power. There's a need to get this, obviously, on a deep level. We want to get this because of that Pluto energy where you have to do it. Again, this can even trigger the ego because it's like, I want to control the outcome. I want to be able to do it right, but it's in the moment. It's personal awakening in the moment. Oh my gosh, I'm doing it again. Oh my gosh, I'm being so hard on myself here. It's not helping me. Let me shift that. That's our moment. So again, there's a little bit of a stress dynamic to this. I'm certainly not implying that if you don't get it right now, you're not getting anything. And that's not true. But I do get that we have, if we're aware of the issue, there's sort of this like, I'm seeing like a tackle or something in a football game. I'm just seeing a person like sitting there like ready, like I'm going to catch this thing. I'm going to catch it. So there's a little bit of an intensity on this at this time of getting this so that we can move through it. Like almost bringing out like a steely determination in you as you become more aware. Like that's what this moment's about. This moment's about catching it and transforming it. Mental outcome at this time, an obsession with taking chances on the mysteries of life. I get the feeling that with all of this is like this really deep desire to see behind the veil right now, which it's like, what am I doing this for? Right? That's what I'm like, I need to know what I'm doing this for. I want to almost gather a lot of information to help assure me like that this is going to do it. Again, I'm getting that the ego still gets involved. Like even this part can trigger the ego. This could be the thing that triggers the ego. Like I need to know what the payoff is, right? I'm not going to do all this work if there's no payoff. And it's like, that's still outcome-based thinking. We're still doing it for an outcome. We're trying to control something in the end. What if we just did it because it was the right move? Because in the moment, it makes you feel better. It makes you feel better to reclaim your power than stay in victimhood. It makes you feel better to be loving and compassionate towards yourself when you yourself are going through something hard already, right? That's kind of where we need to redirect the energy. And I get that there's sort of an obsessive element to what's the end game? What am I getting? You know, if I'm nice, what's my prize? And we've got to, that's still ego. That's ego disguised as something like I'll do the right thing if I get my candy or my payoff in the end, right? Still not the right motivation. The right motivation is because it's integrity to be compassionate with myself when I'm so compassionate with others. Because it's integrity to really claim my power when I can't stand victimhood in others, right? Like I got to stay in integrity with myself. So yeah, the ego is even present in just the exam. So interesting. It's a little frustrating, I won't lie, but very interesting, right? physical outcome at this time, a power struggle resulting from the impressiveness of a major change. So even as you shift, the ego will still want to control it. Yeah, my team's like, ding. Okay, so it's layered, right? I would love to tell you that you face this moment and you've successfully backseated your ego and it stays back there. But the ego can be involved in our processing of the experience. And so you're going to shift. That's the beautiful thing, is shifting is possible. Part of it is that the ego doesn't give up that easily, right? A great book that sort of talks about this in around a different way is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield, because in that book he talks about resistance sort of being the energy of resistance being sort of the nemesis of creating art. And what he talks about is that the closer you get to successfully completing something, your resistance will get stronger. And it's not getting stronger because you don't want to do it. It's getting stronger because then it knows you're about to kill it. Resistance is about to die. If you can make your goal go from point A all the way to point Z, you've crossed that finish line. It means you've overcome resistance. So the closer you get to the finish line, the stronger the resistance. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say the closer we get to overcoming that ego, the stronger the ego gets, because it's got that fight to live. It's got a strong desire to fight for its life. Your ego really believes it is you. So it's not going to go away without the fight. But again, we're not fighting it in a way of like, I'm going to kill you and defeat you. It's a part of you. It's I'm going to love you and accept you and integrate you and remind myself that this is just a part of me. It's not all of me. It makes decisions from a lower understanding. But I can overcome that. And as I overcome it, the urge for it to come up and save itself will come forward. That's not a failing in you. It's not a failing in any of us. It's part of the process. And so the closer you get to managing that ego, the stronger the ego will assert itself, because it doesn't want to lose that control. So the closer you get to getting out of ego control, the stronger the ego control gets. It'll just refocus on something that you can agree with, right? I'll refocus on, if I do this right, I win, right? I get the thing I want, right? And that'll feel like, okay, that's me. And it's like, no, that's your ego still. It's still associating to an outcome rather than a being state, right? Rather than just feeling in alignment with myself. It's associating with a goal or an outcome. So it's tricky. It's layered. It's not, I don't want to say it's complicated. It's layered. And our ego is also, for the lower level of the mind that it is, it's still as smart as you. So your ego, if it realizes you're a really spiritual person, it'll switch its pursuits to something spiritual so that it can still be playing with you. It'll just feel like it's playing, like it's not there. But the ego can shift and twist and become what it needs to in order to keep you engaged with it. The trick is just in the moment. Can I be in integrity and alignment with who I am at the deepest level? Who am I when I'm on my best behavior with others? When I want to present the best of myself, who am I? Now, who am I privately? Who am I when shit's not going my way? Am I the same person? Or is there something else at play? Is there a pattern there that's dragging me down energetically? We'll work on this, all right? We're going to work on this individually. And the more that I understand, the more I will bring to you. But just be so gentle, right? The frustration and overwhelm and the being over it is definitely there this week. But let's see if we can also continue to bring that gentle, loving energy and try to be the version of ourselves we would be with a young child we loved. And if we can do that, we're going to get through this week. Okay. Okay. Sending you so much love.